Hi, welcome to the Dog 10. I am Kara Ochterberg. I am an author and advocate for shelter dogs and homeless dogs. I'm part of Who Will Let the Dogs Out, and I am here to talk dogs and dog training with my favorite trainer.
Hi, I'm Crystal Dunn. I am a dog trainer, behavior consultant, whatever you call us, and writer and podcaster for Farfetch Dog Podcasts.
Yeah, and we're going to jump right in because we try to keep these under 10 minutes. Just some quick good advice. And today's question is a great one, and I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to hearing Crystal's answer because I have a 13-year-old dog who is definitely changing as she gets older. And so this question comes from Catherine Sisson. My older dog has started barking a lot more at folks as they come into my house. How can I help her? And that's definitely Gracie's thing. She barks a lot more at everything. So how can we help these older dogs?
Yeah, so this is a great question because there's a lot of confusion about how dogs age. And I think, we focus a lot on how younger dogs go through different developmental phases. And, we expect them to become adults. And then once they're adults, we're like, whoa, I socialized you and I trained you. So now you're going to be the same dog forever. And that's really just not how it works, right? We see dogs go through developmental changes when they round the corner of 5 years, 6 years. I've noticed over the years, like that seems to be a major kind of time frame for a lot of dogs to change socially. And then, of course, as they get older, we see changes in their cognitive abilities. We see changes in their ability to hear and see things, which can sensitize them to different sounds and different experiences. And just because they're aging and their brains are changing, we can also see changes in their sociability. Sometimes they become more docile, more passive with time, and sometimes they become, again, more sensitized. So, when it comes to new people coming into their environment, I think that older dogs have a hard time with this a lot because sudden changes in their environment can be very jarring for a dog who isn't hearing as well, maybe, or isn't seeing as well as they typically do. And you might get a more severe reaction from them. So some things you can do are, of course, you can kind of practice this, go back to some of your training basics and revisit these things to help normalize the environment for your dog, having people come in and out of doors and in and out of rooms and stuff, and then attaching a positive experience to those things happening so that their current reality and the way they process information matches, their current living environment. And that can be something as simple as, having your friend come over from the neighborhood a couple times in one day and giving some treats every single time he walks into the room, and doing that on repeat a couple times a week until you feel like your dog is kind of adjusted to it a little bit better. But it's also something that just kind of requires us sometimes to change our lifestyle a little bit more too, and just taking those interactions a little slower in our house, allowing our dog a little bit more space between people coming into the room and them so that they have more time to process that there's a person there, that they need to adjust. And then also, if they feel uncomfortable, allowing space for them to leave the room. And in our worst case scenarios, maybe having them in the safety of their kennel or something, if we feel like their reaction is going in such a direction that's going to ultimately, or might ultimately, end up in reacting negatively to somebody being there, like a growl or a bite in the worst case. So, kind of protecting them from themselves, putting them in situations where they feel extremely safe, usually involves either putting them in an enclosed space where nobody else can get to them, so a kennel or a room of their own, or just allowing them a lot more space. Those are really kind of key factors in making sure dogs stay comfortable in their environment, and reading their cues. If your dog is telling you they're uncomfortable, even if it's a new behavior, even if they've been okay with this experience their entire lives, trust them at their word. Believe them when they're telling you, hey, this is no longer okay with me for whatever reason. I feel uncomfortable with this person being by me, and allow them to leave the situation. And in fact, I would reward my dogs for it, because the one thing I want my dogs to opt for whenever they're uncomfortable is retreat. I want them to leave. I want them to move away. And I'll always encourage those behaviors over the alternative, which is moving closer and trying to establish, other, maybe possibly, offering something unfriendly. I don't ever want that for my dogs. I don't ever want them to feel like they need to do that. So we're always going to reinforce the away movement instead. That
makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So Gracie's getting older and her hearing is definitely not what it was. And like your sight is either. So that happens a lot. She's surprised by it. Many times it'll be one of the other dogs comes flying by because she sees something outside and she just blusters, just this big overreaction, just because I guess, she thinks she's going to have to protect us now. And she doesn't even know what she's barking at. So it's frustrating.
Yeah.
It's really
Fear
frustrating.
plays into it a lot.
My husband not to yell at her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fear is a very powerful emotion. It can make a dog do very sudden things, very unexpected things sometimes. And a lot of times these situations are just about training ourselves better to move around our dogs more slowly and kind of accommodate them as they get older. There's definitely a level of that has to come into play as they enter their golden years. And expecting them to change a lot. Like I remember one of my older dogs, Mo, when he hit about 12, he started counter surfing again after like years of not. They can revert to these funny like puppy behaviors sometimes. They get interesting. I love older dogs.
Yeah. Gracie never wanted treats when she was younger. She would never take a treat. I couldn't teach her to do anything. She was so skeptical. Like if you put a treat on the floor, she would walk away. And when you're not looking, she'd come back and kind of sniff it to be sure, like maybe it's poison or maybe it's a treat. But it was so hard to get her. She would never take a treat. Even the vet was always giving her whatever, and she would never take a treat. So giving her medicine was always a challenge. And now, oh my gosh, she's a whore for treats. She's amazing. Like she hears that bag come out, she comes running. Like, who are you? But she's 13. It took long for her to believe that when I hand her a treat, it's really a treat and not poison. 13 years. Now I could teach her something, maybe. I don't know. She even sits and starts putting her paw up. I'm like, you didn't know. You never did that before. So
she knew the whole time. She was just holding out on you.
Yeah, old dogs are so cool. I've always thought that like at some point down the road, I would love to go into shelters and be like, show me your oldest dog and adopt old dogs and like give them their best last year or two of life, because that's the hard thing about when we go into shelters, seeing some of the older dogs. They're some of the least likely to get out alive, and that's hard to see, and old dogs are so interesting.
And they can be some of the easiest dogs to bring into your house too. They're so chill. They're past all the other nonsense in life, and it's just, it can be, you might only have them for a few years, but it could be the very best years they've ever had to offer. And it's just super rewarding to take care of old dogs. My sister rescues older dogs too. And she's taken quite a few of them, and that were just, we thought, well, he'll have a really great last 6 months of his life being with her. And then, one of them ended up living 3-4 years. So you just never know. You never know what you're going to get with an old dog.
You never know. Right. Otis just turned 1 and I'm like, never again a puppy. Never, ever again am I adopting a puppy. From here on out, it's old dogs. That's it. Just old dogs.
Yep. That's
all right.
I feel that.
We probably should wrap this up talking about old dogs, but please, if you have a question that's burning in your heart or not, or just you're wondering about your dog and your dog's behavior, or how to teach it to do something or train it to do something, here is your opportunity to ask an expert. So you can send those questions to me or to Crystal. You can find me at whowillletthedogsout.org or kararights.com. Those are my 2 sites where you can find links to my blogs, to my books, to my travels to the shelters, and to my novels, because I do write fiction. And Crystal's got some places you can probably find her too. Just send us your questions and we'll be happy to jump into them on another Dog Pen.
Yeah. Email me at farfetchpod@gmail.com or check out farfetchpodcast.com for the podcast.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks. See you next time.